All right, welcome back. You're still watching Kenya's Choice here on the 22nd of August, 2022. This is the day that by 2 p.m., if anyone is aggrieved by the decision of the IEBC to declare William Ruto president-elect, that was done on Monday, last week on 15th of August, then they have that time to file a petition. We are expecting to hear from the Supreme Court, and we'll be watching to see what is happening. And you see that's the biggest story on the two dailies. On the front page of the Standard, you'll see even them detailing who are part of the legal team. From the side of Azimio la Umoja, you see Feroz Naroji, James Orengo, Professor Tom Ojenda, Philip Murgo. Then on Kenya Kwanza's team, you'll find Kioko Kilukumi, Ahmed Nasser Abdullahi. Then you'll see Professor Githu Muigai from IEBC. And of course, you're seeing a situation where that 5 years ago, we went back to the Supreme Court and there was a nullification of the presidential election then. And of course, it was ordered that a repeat election be held within 60 days. Raila Odinga went ahead to boycott the election on questions of the situation at the IEBC, saying that the team was not fair. He wanted several things changed, calling them irreducible minimums. Eventually, we had a repeat election on October 26th of 2017, but it is what it is. 98% voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. Well, almost half of the country did not participate in that election. But here we are again. I'm in studio with Dan Okach, who is Dan Kanokach, who is our Wakili. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
And shortly we'll be joined by Javas Bigambo, who is also a lawyer, to help us go through this. And as we drive to 2 p.m., what is your expectation? Will Azimio team make good the promise, or just let the time pass?
My expectation is that, of course, Azimio will make good its promise. We've been told, and they've told us time without number, that they are moving to the Supreme Court. And all indications are that they are moving to the Supreme Court. Of course, they've already put up their team, and they've told us many of the issues that they believe they want the Supreme Court to deal with. And it is automatic. They will file a petition to the Supreme Court. What we do not know at this point, maybe the exact content in terms of those. But of course, they've given us a hint of the grounds upon which such a petition is supposed to be anchored.
Right. All right. And now Javas joins us. I don't know if you're able to speak. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Indeed, you're able to speak.
Yeah, sure.
So tell us about your expectations as we drive towards 2 p.m. I was with you in studio last week on 15th of August, and we left just before the declaration was made. Well, eventually it was made, and here we are. What is your expectation by this afternoon?
Well, basically, of course, we know that the Azimio coalition party has got up to 2 p.m. latest today to file its petition with the court. Of course, like my colleague here has indicated, no one yet is aware of the pleadings and the prayers that the Azimio coalition party desires or intends to make of that apex court, with a view to, as it challenges the presidential election results as declared by the commission. And what is it exactly that it has beneath its sleeves that it hopes will overturn the results as declared? Now, of course, it is possible that Azimio Coalition Party is heading to the Supreme Court with the great expectation, comparable perhaps to 2017, when it made its prayers and pleadings to the court, and the court agreed and allowed the petition, and in fact overturned or ruled against made a decision against the election results, and we went to a fresh election. What I hope is that Azimio Coalition Party has gathered weighty and sufficient evidence that will possibly grant it what it so much desires. Remember that from the beginning of the implementation of the new constitution, 2010, 2013, Raila Odinga approached the apex court challenging the results. The court did not agree with him. In 2017, the court agreed with him. Whether it's going to be third time lucky, or rather second time lucky, it remains to be seen. But of course, we know that Raila Odinga now goes down into history as a man who has left his mark on the skin of every Chief Justice that has been or held and led that court. Justice Willie Mutunga was bruised by Raila Odinga's scratches. We remember Justice Maraga as well, first Raila Odinga, and now Justice Koome. Now one has got to score through the kind of evidence that Raila Odinga and his team will provide. But the issue here for me is this, that it's possible Raila Odinga may, in the fullness of time, if at all the court does not allow his petition, face with great displeasure defeat in the hands of William Ruto. But it's possible by facing this apex court, Raila Odinga does not want to even imagine facing defeat in this election in the hands of Wafula Chebukati. And that's why we have seen that from the first press conference that he addressed, Raila Odinga has made countless lamentations about Wafula Chebukati and how he has managed this election. We have seen the battery of lawyers that have been assembled by IBC, by Raila Odinga, and by President-elect William Ruto. And so our nation awaits. By this forenoon, then, it will be easy to know what exactly are the kind of prayers that Azimio Coalition Party is making. But we look forward to going through that, of course, quite expeditiously. And I want also to appreciate the kind of approach that Raila Odinga has given this time round, even as he heads to the courts, that we have not seen the characteristic agility of Raila Odinga when he's fighting off his legitimate discontent with presidential election results, calling for calm, etc., and we so much need that. And I think we have also proven to the continent and the world once more that the growth strides that we have made as a democracy are things that have made us better, improved us, and in fact, we have even matured as a people, and even by way of approach that our leaders are giving election challenges in this country.
And Dan, when you look at the past, 2013, 2017, there were two presidential election petitions. What do you see as the threshold that the petitioners, if it's Azimio la Umoja, whoever else, must go through to be in a position to secure probably a decision like was in 2017 September?
Yes, Sam, from a point of departure, it is always a good thing when any dispute, especially such a presidential election dispute, is taken to court. And that shows that at least our courts are giving confidence to any potential litigators that they will find justice there. And that is a good thing, because that is what plummeted us to the issues we had in 2007, when there was no trust in terms of the court system. So it's a good thing. And to take it further in terms of your question, overturning an election, a presidential election especially, is not an easy thing. That people must understand. It is not a walk in the park. In fact, the norm is that it should be extremely difficult to overturn an election, even if it is an MC election, because that is the will of the people that has been expressed. And if you look at the Constitution, it has laid out the threshold in the election in terms of how elections are conducted. And you must demonstrate, you know, to the standard acceptable, which of course is not beyond reasonable doubt, but and not also in between the balance of probability, so that you must be able to ascertain and to demonstrate clearly and convince not only the judges, but Kenyans who will be watching, that truly these elections did not meet the threshold subscribed in Article 81 of our Constitution. That is, whatever system that IBC was to adopt in terms of conducting the elections and eventually announcing the winner, that process must be transparent, must be simple, must be verifiable, and must be accurate. You must have evidence that impeaches that shows that whatever process that was used, it either in terms of the process itself, cajoled the will of the people. or in terms of the process itself, there was no way, it's not verifiable. So in terms of the petition that is expected, that will be the threshold. Remember, 2017, they did not, the election in 2017 was not overturned just simply because of all these grounds were demonstrated. No. The only issue there was opaqueness. That they were told, let us see.
Did you just use that word?
that was the only reason why that election was overturned.
Right.
Because IBC was asked, let us see. There are a lot of claims in terms of your servers. There was no transparency. We cannot add 1+1. Let us know where you got your results from. And the moment they did not give us or give access to that, to the Supreme Court judges, to that particular server or their servers, that became a major issue in terms of the decision of the Supreme Court then.
Right.
Now, at this particular point, and that's why I'm saying it is good to have these petitions. They help us. You see, IBC has moved a step further to try and correct that issue of opaqueness by now giving us those results in real time as they are receiving them. They are also availing them to the public. So the issue of opening the servers is no longer an issue, I believe, in this election, because they are already there. Everyone had access to them. So it is a step in the right direction in terms of transparency. And that's why I'm saying, for you now to overturn even this election, you must now go further than 2017. If you really believe you have grounds, it should be further than 2017, because in terms of mainly the servers, that is an issue that has been dealt with. So in terms of the grounds, like what they've told us, a lot will play out in terms of the IBC itself, how it processed these results, how it announced these results, and the role of the other commissioners. Those are the main issues which will come out, but they will be juxtaposed with the fact that did they affect the numbers eventually? Because it's all about numbers. If the numbers still match, and the process, even if you impugn or you impeach the process, it is not it did not affect in any manner the ultimate will of the people, then the election will still be upheld, of course, with some directions in terms of how to better manage it in the
Yet in 2017, if I remember correctly, the court did not appeared not interested in going into the numbers. They were more concerned of the process.
The election, that's why I've told you, it's a two-pronged approach. There's a qualitative and quantitative test, and both of them must be met. However, if you look at it, the moment you have opaqueness, the moment you cannot see what was happening behind, you cannot then even deal with the numbers at the end of the day, because you cannot justify those numbers. But the moment there's visibility, and that's the question that will be asked, if you can demonstrate to us in terms of how you manage that process and eventually arrived at the numbers, then everything will check. But if you are unable to explain, if you are unable to show, to demonstrate, of course, the court will have no other option but to say, we cannot then go to the numbers. But the numbers are always very important in any election petition, because also the numbers tell you something. In fact, in these numbers, and that's why I'm saying, there's something wrong. As much as Java says we have matured, I don't think we've yet matured. There's a problem in the entire electoral process, because it should not be an automatic thing that after every election, someone is at the Supreme Court. It does not happen even in America, the most advanced democracy. It does not happen. Very rarely will you find someone challenging it at the Supreme Court. But more importantly, look at the numbers. 2017, Uhuru Kenyatta was saying he has won by over 8 million votes. Today, we are saying when we have increased the number of voters, 5 years after, we are now saying the figures are actually becoming lower in terms of people who are voting, and especially the youth. So there's something there's a problem where people must arrive at a point where they believe in the electoral process.
Right.
That's the only way that those numbers will go up, and the will of the people will be reflected in terms of the numbers.
And Javas, for you, what would you put the threshold at so that it's so convincing to the country, having seen what happened in 2017? Yes, the process, like he says, was pretty opaque. So this time round, what must the petitioner get right to convince the court?
Well, remember that the court does not invent prayers for the, the petitioner. It responds specifically to what the petitioner has approached the court to do. Now, with regard to convincing or moving the court, recall that in 2013 and even 2017, Honorable Raila Odinga started by first trying to win the case in the court of public opinion, then moved to the Supreme Court. Now, that effort, he's made it again. Adding to what my colleague has indicated about one of the reasons that justified the overturning of the presidential results of 2017, the other thing that was very critical in 2017 was the transmission of the presidential results. Remember that election technology regulations 2017 provided that the presidential results, all of them must be transmitted electronically. And we recall that in 2017, there are some other places that there was no electronic transmission. Now, scoring into the prairies of the matters that the Supreme Court is supposed to look at and be moved by, if at all, then we have not had Azimio team making critical lamentations or puncturing the procedural process and systemic issues, which now speak to the qualitative test of this election. Azimio and Raila Odinga seem to be at issue with the quantitative aspect, and they want possibly to ask the court to avail itself into a critical inquiry of the quantitative test of this election. They are looking at matters summation, etc. And it's also possible that they may want to request the court to conduct a recount.
Is it possible, from your experience, is it possible to order a recount?
Now, we've had the justices of that court, speaking to these issues. And of course, there have been issues to do with the time, that the 14-day period may not be sufficient to get into the inquiry and then order a recount. But you see, if at all the petitioner has approached the trier of fact to do a recount, the Supreme Court may not have to move away and adjudge itself of issues that are not in the petition. Now, and that's why I said that for us to ventilate thoroughly and properly on the issues that the Supreme Court will have to deal with, then we have to examine the petition that will be filed at the court by the Azimio Coalition Party today. Because devoid of that, then we are working with possible assumptions. But now, the Supreme Court will have to dispense with every issue, every prayer that the petitioners will make of the court. And so it leaves us on that path.
Okay. All right.
And so moving forward, every person, every citizen, every attorney will want to look at the substance of the weight with which Azimio is presenting itself to the court.
All right, I want us to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the events of the past 7 days, but also what has been happening within IEBC. There has been questions as to some of their tabulation and, of course, whether the decision by 4 commissioners to come out and say that they were not involved in the processes that Wafula Chebukati was steering at the Bomas of Kenya, whether they will have any impact on the court. And of course, you can have this conversation before a case is filed so that you're not, is it called sub judice?
Sub judice.
Yeah, we're back in a moment. Stay tuned.